My name is Robert Downey Jr. Today, people see confidence when I walk into a room. They see success. They see Iron Man. But that's not where my story starts, and it's definitely not where it almost ended. I was born on the 4th of April, 1965 in New York City. My father, Robert Downey Sr., was an independent filmmaker. Our house was never quiet. There were actors coming and going, scripts lying around, cameras everywhere. Creativity wasn't encouraged, it was expected. Acting wasn't a dream for me, it was just life. But my childhood had cracks in it, deep ones. When I was 6 years old, my father introduced me to drugs. At that age, you don't question adults, you don't understand addiction, you don't understand how a single moment can shape your entire future. I thought it was normal, I thought it was bonding. What I didn't know was that my brain was learning something dangerous very, very early. Drugs didn't enter my life suddenly. They grew with me. By my teenage years, substances were already part of how I coped with confusion, pressure, and emotions I didn't know how to process. Acting became my escape, and drugs became my crutch. One helped me shine on the outside, the other slowly destroyed me on the inside. In the 1,980 seconds and early 1,990 seconds, things looked incredible from the outside. I was getting roles, I was respected, I was working constantly, directors trusted me with complex characters. Then came Chaplin in 1992. That role changed everything, at least temporarily. I studied Charlie Chaplin obsessively. His walk, his voice, his silence. I gave everything to that performance. And when the Oscar nomination came, I felt invincible. I truly believed I had made it. I thought success would finally quiet the chaos inside me. It didn't. In fact, it made things worse. The pressure increased, expectations increased, and instead of slowing down, I ran faster straight into addiction. Drugs stopped being something I used occasionally. They became something I needed. I couldn't imagine functioning without them. Soon, my life turned into a pattern. Success, self-destruction, regret, repeat. Then the consequences arrived. I was arrested multiple times, drug possession, breaking into homes while intoxicated, parole violations. I went to jail, I went to rehab. I promised myself I would change, and then I didn't. Not completely. Hollywood noticed. Producers stopped calling. Studios labeled me uninsurable. Insurance companies who quietly decide whether you get hired or not refuse to cover me. That's when you know your career is dying. Not with applause, but with silence. I remember sitting alone, realizing something terrifying. I wasn't just losing my career. I was losing my identity. I wasn't the talented actor anymore. I was the problem. The lowest moments weren't dramatic. They were quiet. Sitting in jail cells, sitting in rehab rooms, sitting with the realization that I had wasted chances most people only dream of. I felt shame not just for what I'd done, but for who I'd become. And then came a moment of brutal clarity. I finally understood that no one was coming to save me. Not my talent, not my fame, not my past success. If I didn't really change, this story would end badly. Recovery wasn't a movie montage. It wasn't inspirational music and instant clarity. It was boring. It was painful. It was repetitive. It meant showing up every day and choosing not to self-destruct. It meant accepting responsibility instead of blaming circumstances. Meeting Susan Levin changed my life. She didn't see me as a headline or a risk factor. She saw a human being who needed stability, structure, and accountability. With her, I learned discipline. I learned routine. I learned that staying sober wasn't about willpower, it was about changing everything around me. Then came 2008. A script crossed my desk, Iron Man. At the time, Marvel wasn't the powerhouse it is today. This wasn't a guaranteed hit. In fact, many people were against casting me. They said I was too risky, too unpredictable, too damaged. But when I read Tony Stark, something clicked. Tony Stark was brilliant and broken, arrogant and afraid, a man who nearly destroys himself before realizing he needs to change or die. That wasn't acting. That was my life on paper. I knew this was my chance, maybe my last one. On set, I showed up early. I stayed focused. I stayed sober. I treated the job with respect, not entitlement. I wasn't trying to be a star. I was trying to be reliable. When Iron Man released, the response was overwhelming. People didn't just like the movie, they believed in the character. And somehow, through Tony Stark, they believed in me again. What followed changed cinema history. Iron Man 2, The Avengers, a global cinematic universe. I became one of the highest paid actors in the world. But that wasn't the miracle. The miracle was this. I woke up present, I stayed clean, I stayed alive. Today, when people call me a comeback story, I understand why, but I also know something important. I'm not special. I just reached a point where the pain of staying the same became greater than the pain of changing. If you're listening to this and you feel trapped by addiction, failure, or your own past, hear me clearly. Your worst chapter does not get to decide your ending. Rock bottom isn't the end. Sometimes it's the foundation. My name is Robert Downey Jr. I lost almost everything, and I rebuilt one choice at a time. And if I could come back from that, there's hope for you too.